Today I want to talk to you about Klaviyo pricing changes. What are we going to do about the Klaviyo pricing changes? That is the number one question that I have been getting this year. And in today's video, I'd like to address that and offer advice that we're offering our clients and those consulting with us to help navigate these kind of exorbitant, in some cases, price increases. So I'm Sarah Kapler. I'm founder and CEO of a CRM marketing agency, Eccentric Squared. And today I want to break it down to you and let you know, if you're a small business owner, number one, take a deep breath. There are options. But number two, this is the time to plan and be aware of, what you can do, because the cost difference can really make or break your email marketing program if you don't play your cards right. Okay, before we dive into the solutions, let's talk a little bit about the problem. I'll give you one example from one of our clients who has been a Klaviyo customer for years, have been running email for years. Their costs were sitting around just under $2,000 a month. And if you do the math with this new active profile, method of calculating billing, their license fees were going to jump from just under $2,000 a month to over $8,000 a month. Now, that's a huge jump. That's $6,000 a month more over the year, $72,000. Of course, factor in that will probably go up as your email program grows and the number of profiles, in your system naturally grow. But we're talking about $70,000 a month on license fees. So it's a big deal to small businesses to look at that. And it's a big deal to us. Now, I'll be honest with you, it's not my credit card linked to this Klaviyo account. It's not coming out of my bank account. However, that doesn't mean I don't have skin in the game. We're a marketing agency and we report, like any marketing agency, on ROI. And so the costs matter to us too. Like, our results will go down if we start paying unnecessarily higher fees without, making more use of that and generating more revenue. So the first thing I want to do is show you kind of, if you look in your account settings, where to find this information and how to understand what's going on. So let me switch my screen here over. So I'm in a Klaviyo billing of one of our clients. If you go to billing overview, you'll see this monthly total that you can expand to take a look at it. And you'll see they're currently at $2,100 a month. But they're on a plan that allows for a really high number of profiles. 1.25 million profiles and corresponding emails is also very high. And they're sitting at, $8,840 a month. Now, some people are not realizing what's happening because the total you'll see is pretty low, $2,100. That's not too bad in this case because there's this appreciation discount being applied. So I want to take a minute and explain what that appreciation discount is. So Klaviyo basically said, look, we're raising our prices, putting everybody on the same pricing plan that's been in place since 2024. So we're not, like any pricing plan changes, there's some people who sometimes get grandfathered in on these old pricing plans. And they're basically saying, we're not doing that anymore. Everyone's going to be on the new pricing plan. However, we realize it's a big blow and it's a big change and we don't want you to leave. So what we're going to do is give you what's called an appreciation discount where we, will not increase the price above 25% of what you're already spending. So they do the math on the back end of what that means, how that's calculated. But basically it's saying we're gonna soften the blow so that your increase is only 25% more. So 25% more in itself isn't that bad. If you think about other costs that are going up, it's normal to have increasing costs over time, especially in companies that are constantly adding new features. It's not gonna make or break your marketing program to have 25% more. However, the almost 300% more will have a big impact. So the question is, how long is this appreciation discount going to stay around? What's the plan? How long do we have before they take it away? And the answer is we don't know. They haven't come up with they haven't announced an end date per se of this appreciation discount. Our best guess is probably about a year before they remove it. However, they're a public company and they have shareholders, and who knows what's going to happen with their cash flow. And it's, without a confirmed date, we just don't know when it's going to be taken away or changed over time to help their business with their cash flow. So it's uncertain and it's not something you can count on forever. That's for sure. So what does this all mean? It means there's a ticking bomb going off, and You have maybe up to a year before your pricing will go up significantly. And now is exactly the time to act. So take a deep breath. There are solutions, and I want to walk you through them. The first thing I want to walk you through is list cleaning. So we have a separate video which you can follow. It'll be linked to this one on list cleaning that goes into more detail. But I want to just high level explain to you the concept of this because it can absolutely help you keep your costs down. As you know, this new billing system is based on number of active profiles. So if you can get that number down, you won't be in the situation of paying for profiles you're not using. So there's a lot of reasons to clean your list, and it's a very good best practice to go in and cull dead weight, whether it's invalid emails or bounces or people who really have never ever opened emails from you. Why would you be holding onto that data or keeping them in your email marketing system if they're really not responding? List cleaning practices are fairly straightforward to do. I want to show you one example of a segment that we use. It's not the only one, but just to get you seeing kind of how attainable this is. So here's one that we have. It's called Cold Never Engaged for List Cleaning. Show me all the profiles of people who have been created before a certain date. Here I put in April 2023, 2 years. Show me really old profiles from 2 years ago who have not ever opened emails over all time. We use 12 till they've received at least 12, and they have not opened, they have not clicked, they have not visited the website, they have not placed an order, right? So this is one example of how you can quickly use segments in Klaviyo to identify profiles that can be removed. And in this case, I've got 91,000 profiles. I can then come in here and I can suppress them. So there's definitely methods to go in and identify some of this dead weight, and we'll go into more depth in another video, but that's one way to, quickly change the impact of this billing on you, is to ask yourself, how low can I go? How can I get rid of some of this dead weight so that I'm not at these, crazy numbers? So that's one strategy, is to clean your list. You can use engagement to do that. You can also use bounces. You can also use invalid emails and typos. Think hmail.com or whatever common typos there are, because guaranteed there's going to be some of that that's taken up space in your email marketing program that you don't need to be paying for. So that's one solution, is to clean your lists. You can do this one time. So meaning, just like I showed you, you create a segment, you suppress it. Maybe you go in every 3 months, check the segment, suppress those, check the segment, suppress those. That kind of had been added to it over time to kind of keep it clean and cull some of that dead weight. The other thing you can do, if you haven't already, is to add some tags at the end, or automations at the end of your re-engagement flows. So most email marketers will have some type of an re-engagement flow in place already, where after, let's say, 6 months, you're trying to get the customer to come back or win back flow. You're sending them emails about either products or value or whatever it is, and hoping that they open and click on them. And when they don't, after a certain period of time, maybe after a month, they really haven't opened any of these re-engagement emails, we haven't seen them around on the site, that's a good time to tag the profile and say, let's just go ahead and call this person suppressed or suppression, or however you want to name it in Klaviyo. You can do that using custom fields. Fairly straightforward to set up. Reach out if you need a hand, of course. But that's kind of how you can make some of these list cleaning kind of self-cleaning, if you will, over time. So cleaning your list is a great practice. It's good for your billing, of course, because you'll keep your number of active profiles down. But it's also good for your email deliverability, right? You don't need to be sending emails to people who really aren't going to be opening them. You'll find that your open rates go up, your click rates go up, and especially when your open rates go up, what happens is more people are going to be receiving your emails because they're being engaged with, and you're not sending to dead weight. So the overall effect is not just good for billing, it's good for your email marketing strategy, okay? So list cleaning, that's one way to deal with it. The other idea, which is maybe a bit of a hot take, but is to use this extra sending capacity. There's a lot of people right now who are going in and just like hacking away at their lists and saying, how can we immediately get down to, to the lowest number because we don't want these billing issues. We can't afford an extra $6,000 a month in email, so let's just cut everything we can that's not essential. We'll just delete them, suppress them, whatever the practices people are doing. And I don't think that's the right approach either, because there are cases, well, at least not the right approach for everyone, but there are cases like this client I just shared with you, where they're actively sending to 120,000 people, but they're sitting on active profiles of 10 times that, 1.25 million profiles, and they're actually getting the increased capacity and the increased send at a really good rate right now. So let me go back to this screen and show you what I mean. So they're currently at this, with the appreciation discount, they're currently getting 1.25 million profiles, which is, just a ton, 12.5 million emails per month that they are allowed to send for the price of $2,000. So if they work really hard to reduce from 1.25 million profiles to, let's say, 800,000 profiles, of course they could do that. But this number isn't going to change, right? Like, the list cleaning that we're going to be doing is to help you for when the appreciation discount disappears. But the appreciation discount is here, and it's giving you a ton of increased sends and profiles at a rate that you won't get anywhere else. So alternative way to navigate this is to use that extra sending capacity. For example, look at your re-engagement flows. How can you expand on those? Look at the dead weight, so to say, that you have, maybe minus obvious bounces or invalid emails or people you don't want to be sending to. But look at the rest of these people who once upon a time were interested in your brand. Now's a great time to try a 3, 4, 5 email flow to win them over, because you're already paying for it. It's in your plan, it's in your limits. So why not? And you have a bit of time. They're not going to change this overnight. So why don't you go ahead and use that capacity, run a final re-engagement flow, and then you can cut the dead weight right afterwards, those that really don't re-engage. So using that extra sending capacity is smart. The other thing that Klaviyo has just introduced, and in part to help people use this more, so I want to show you this, is there's something called the campaign boost now, where you are sending an email and you have the option to send a second follow-up email after the fact. It contains a follow-up. That's how it shows up on the Klaviyo dashboard. But basically what it is when you're scheduling a campaign, it asks you, hey, do you want to send a follow-up email maybe 2 or 3 days later to, your high engaged list that maybe missed this first email? And so what you can do is send the same campaign with a slightly different subject line 2 days later to, a group that you've already identified. So this maybe isn't the best screen capture of the concept, so let me just explain it. So Klaviyo's introduced this campaign resend feature. So every time you're in Klaviyo, when you go to schedule your campaign, it will ask you, hey, do you want to send a follow-up to people who didn't open this 2 or 3 days later, just in case they missed it in your inbox? And it gives you a chance to take one campaign, but instead of sending it once, you're actually sending it once to your broader list and then once to a smaller subset of that list a second time, right? So you're increasing your email sending without necessarily increasing the work, because it's using an existing campaign. All you need is a new subject line, really, for that to work. So it's a good time to be exploring what you can do with this extra sending capacity if you have it, right? So yes, list hygiene is important, but think bigger picture here. What can you do with, 12 million email sends that you couldn't do before because it was cost prohibitive, but now you're paying for them anyway. So it's time to think outside the box and try some re-engagement campaigns or some alternative strategies as well. And that's what we're helping our clients with. Okay, so the third option I want to explain to you is ESP alternatives. There's a lot of people migrating away from Klaviyo due to this. Not everyone. Klaviyo is still going to be a best-in-class tool that offers a lot and has a lot lot of value baked into it. But the two other ESPs to follow are either Omnisend or Yotpo as alternatives to Klaviyo. They're really upping their game to try to gain some of the exodus from Klaviyo over the pricing. The fact is, it's not really a pricing question, right? Of course, price matters, but it's about the value. And it depends on your business and kind of how you're running email and what your business model is like, whether Klaviyo is a good fit at all. And this pricing change is making a lot of businesses ask themselves, is this really the right tool for us? And it's a great tool, but it's not necessarily for every business. And I think what we're finding now in the email world is that if your business model is not very retention heavy, meaning you either have a low price point product that you tend to sell, there's a lot of first time purchasers, not a lot of repeat purchasers. You're spending a lot on ads to get those first time purchasers. It kind of fizzles out no matter what you're trying, no matter post-purchase flow, cross-selling. Some businesses only have one product, right? There's only so many of these products that you're going to sell to the same person over their lifetime. And so it looks very different for different business types. And I think it's the right time to be asking yourself as a business, the question, is Klaviyo right for me? Like, if I can't get this value out of this ESP, is this the right ESP for me, right? Or should I be considering another one? So that's the way you approach it. There's definitely alternatives that are worth looking for. I will say, when you're exploring alternatives, if you're kind of a high acquisition business model, look for pay-per-send pricing, because that will absolutely help you offset some of the costs. That will always be a better option for your business. The fourth thing I want to cover is partial migration. So there's a lot of talk about migration. I should move everything over to Klaviyo. I should move everything over to, Yotpo or to Omnisend or wherever you end up going. And for sure, that might be a solution. But there's also, depending on how you're running email, depending on your business, there's also the option of a partial migration, meaning look more closely at your email program. Is there a place to draw a line and say, you know what, these things with the integration with Klaviyo and our website is so good, I can't get that anywhere else. I'm going to keep my welcome flow, my browse abandon flow, my abandon checkout flow. I'm going to keep these things over here because they're technical and they're bringing in revenue. But are there some other parts of my email program that I don't need to be doing over here, right? Are there some arms of it, whether that your event emailing or cold emailing or the anonymous browser tracking and emailing. There's lots of different parts of an email marketing strategy and program. And it could be that you can cleave off the high volume stuff, move it to a different platform. Not always, not in every case, but I'm just throwing this out there as a suggestion because there's a lot of people who say, I want to migrate, but nobody else has this integration. And we dig a little bit deeper and we say, okay, well, what is it about the integration that you need? And you say, oh, actually, it's just this one or two, events coming in to Klaviyo that nobody else can do. And you go, okay, well, what would it look like if you kept just those one or two events? How would that work? Now, nobody likes to manage two ESPs. It's not always possible, but I throw it out there because we have had clients where that is the perfect solution, right? They get the technical, the depth of technical integrations that they need for their business through Klaviyo, and then they move the rest somewhere else to keep their costs down. So that's an option, and that's called a partial migration, what we would call a partial migration. And we also tell our clients, look at your tech stack as a whole. Sometimes they're using other tools that have emailing capabilities in there that they're already paying for, that they don't know about yet. And so there could be ways to tuck in some of the email into different systems to help save on the costs. Okay, and then the last point I want to make is this is a big deal. Pricing changes. There's a lot of talk in the industry, and there's also a lot of startups, businesses that are trying to come up with creative solutions to manage this. So there's two that I'm following. One is called Orita.ai, and another is called UpEngage. And they're two different companies that came out of the woodwork when Klaviyo announced this. They were like, all right, we've been working towards this for the last year. It's our time to shine. And they come out and they explain that actually they have this AI system of automatically suppressing and unsuppressing people based on what types of emails they're going to be receiving. And it's actually a really cool technology. It's almost like I know. I remember my first product demo in this space. It's almost like they set everybody non-engaged as dormant. And then based on the flows that they would be eligible for, they come in and cherry pick who should be active in time to receive the next email. So you imagine all of a sudden, instead of having everybody active just in case, they are going to get 3 or 4 emails from us over the next 3 months for a re-engagement flow. They say, no. We'll just activate the people you need when you need it. And of course, most flows are based on some kind of an event like placed order or, visited product page or something like that. And so what happens is it's like trickles in, who needs to be active over time. So there isn't one giant bill. It's kind of trickled in and spread out over the course of the months, which of course helps with the list management. Anyways, that's one example. It's fast evolving. Probably in 2-3 weeks time, there'll be other tools out there offering the same thing, or apps being developed. I'm sure there's plenty of people working on it, but this is a space to follow, and it might be that over the coming months, there will be solutions. Okay, so final takeaways here for you. Klaviyo pricing is definitely impacting many small businesses. It can be a really big impact. So go into your billing, check it out, do the math yourself, and think to yourself, I need to find a solution to save my business $70,000 on license fees this year, right? The appreciation discount will not last forever, that's for sure. We don't have a timeline yet, so now is the time to be assessing how you want to manage this for your business. What you actually end up doing, it depends on your business, but there's more options than just cull everything and try to get below the limit as soon as possible. You can, of course, clean your list. You should be cleaning your list, but you can also be exploring migrations. You can also be, in this interim time, coming up with strategies to use your increased send and capacity. And you can also be following some of the conversations and tools that are being developed right now to address this problem, because I guarantee you that there's more options out there than just a giant price hike. And it's a good time to be asking yourself in your business if you're getting enough value from your ESP, if there's anything you can do to be increasing that value. I hope you found this video helpful. If you take a minute to subscribe to my channel, that would be great. And of course, if you need any help with either consulting or list management or list hygiene, please reach out to us, Centric Squared. We have a free discovery call, no strings attached, 15 minutes. And if we can point you in the right direction, we will. And if you need an extra set of hands to navigate this, that's exactly what we're doing right now for clients with good results. So thank you. Bye.